Wolf. Thanks for tuning in for another video in the 2025 e-bike light shootout, low power, mid power shootout, whatever it is. We know what this is, a very awesome bike, the Trek Fuel Plus, and today we're going to tell you how it performs out on the trails. Let's go. So before we get into the bike and its performance, we'd like to take a second and thank our sponsors who made this series possible. We've got 13 bikes battling it out head to head, so that's a lot of videos and time before we get to the round table, which is coming soon. So all of the bikes have been outfitted with Schwalbe radial tires. We've got the Albert Gravity out back and the Magic Mary Gravity up front. Moving into some of the other partners, we've got Endura, who have got us all looking good and safe with our helmets. And then Giro's got us some really awesome knee pads and shoes. We are back again in Klamath Falls, Oregon, because it's just too good and so close to home. We love coming down and riding the trails here at Klamath Falls and staying at the Running Y Resort. So thanks to them for having us again. Let's get into this bike. So the Trek Fuel Plus is available in 3 different configurations. However, within that, you can make a lot more different travel configurations based on shock stroke length, but there are different linkage options and shock strokes, which will give you travel from 140 up to 160. We are running it in the LX configuration, so it's a 160, 170 bike. We've got it set up as a dual 29-inch wheel setup right now. Again, one of the other options, especially with the MX link, is to be able to run it mullet, but I don't know, I think we all agree that this thing rips as a dual 29. You're the shortest guy on test at 5'8"?
5'10" on a good day.
5'10", okay.
Are we sure about that?
I guess you're standing in a hole. He's in a hole. Yeah, so he's got really big hands too. So yeah, I think, dual 29 is the way to go, I think, in our opinion. But one of our guest testers, actually, who's one of our members, owns this bike, and he's got it set up in a mullet, and he absolutely loves it in that setup as well. So yeah, let's get into some of the other details and talk about how this thing performs. So Sean, let's get into drive unit and battery on this thing.
Driving unit, we've got the TQ HPR 60. It's got 350 watts peak power, 60 Newton meters of torque, designated by that HPR 60 name. And it's got a 580 watt hour battery, which is the second biggest on test, actually. And
it does have the option to get a range extender.
It does.
As well, 160, so big days. We've put some big days in just with that 580.
Yeah, monster days.
Yeah. Can you talk about our range and mileage test with Travis?
One of our riders, who's 195 pounds, took it on a 13-mile, 1,300-foot elevation day. The bike did that loop in 1 hour and 3 minutes, which is middle of the road compared to all the other bikes on test, but it is the most efficient, using only 197 watt hours of the 580 watt hour battery.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive across the board. The TQ unit is extremely efficient, and again, like middle of the pack in terms of speed, but relative to the other bikes, I think the fastest was like 59. So, you know, on a 13-mile ride, it's minutes difference, right? 3, 4, 5 minutes. They were all within a pretty close time.
And that was Travis riding the bike fairly aggressively in boost only.
Right.
So, I mean,
yeah, and it's still left a lot of battery. And speaking of battery, we have put in some very big days. Sean, I think you take the cake on a 6,500-foot day with this thing?
Something like that. It was a monster day in the Whistler backcountry. I was admittedly hating life halfway through that ride, but it was super impressive. I mean, I started in the mid-power mode, and then after we got to our first descent, I was pretty cooked. So I went to turbo for the remainder of that ride, and that was still probably another 15 miles or so, and it was just monstrous. And I don't think I killed the battery. I think I still had 15–20% left.
There was a little left, yeah. So, Chris, why don't you talk a little bit about, because you rode this at home in Bend, which is a lot flatter than Whistler, and here. So what were your thoughts about riding and pedaling the bike, especially there, and then getting on it here? how did it compare?
Yeah, so in Bend, local trails, this was a lot of bike for what I was trying to ride. So it didn't really stand out to me, to be honest. When I got here on Northridge, totally different game. I felt way more composed, way safer, to be honest, on a couple of those corners. It felt good. It doesn't feel like a massive e-bike. What I like a lot about it too, and this has grown on me, is the TQ. Like the TQ motor, I was not a believer. It's quiet, it doesn't shake and rattle, and I left with 73%, and I still have 50% on that battery.
Yeah.
So that shows a lot. I think you guys were on the Bosch and Boost, I was in Boost, and you've got
we were
2 bars left, and I could go do that 3 more times.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so how come you didn't like the TQ at first?
I hit Boost on the other motors and I went a lot faster. But you think about it, if you're not riding with someone that is flooring it the whole time, or you want to go for a longer ride, this is a no-brainer to me.
Okay. And then you did say something quite notable after riding a couple of different drive units today, and then you got back on a bike that you said was, up until you got here, your favorite that you wanted.
Yep.
And what was your observation there, specifically around the drive unit?
Yeah, so I started riding with just Bosch motors the first 4 or 5 bikes I rode, and then I moved over to TQ. I went back to a Bosch today. I didn't realize how noisy they are when it gets really chunky. And that is something that plays into like what I want to buy as a consumer. Like fun and noise doesn't equate to more fun for me.
Okay.
Like I'm always like, is something breaking?
Yeah.
This bike was silent and I had no issues with it. So
Okay.
I totally changed my mind here once we got into the chunky stuff.
Okay, very good. So yeah, I think moving into a little bit more of the descending side of things, we've opted for the size large. We're all, 5'10" to 6'2". So you can head to the loamwolf.com. We will put the full geo chart there. Of course, you can always head to Trek's website. For me, the standouts on this bike are composure, but it's also a pretty active and lively suspension platform. I think it's a really fun bike, and for how planted and like supple it is going through really rough stuff, it also leaves the ground very nicely as well. Like I can get it up and over stuff, whether that's pre-jumping or hitting a small little feature to kind of air out over, and gap over something. Like the bike has a really nice blend of performance, like both like just handling and maneuverability, but also like poppiness and just plowing through stuff. What were your thoughts there, Sean?
Gosh, I love descending this bike. It's by far my favorite. It eats everything up. Like I could turn my brain off and just point it down the hill, and whatever gets in its way is a piece of cake. And circling back to like my time in Whistler, riding some of those really black, just backcountry trails, it's just like, they are so steep and the bike was so composed, it ate everything up. Like I never felt like I got overwhelmed. And same thing here, it's just through some of the rock chunk down Northridge, it was just ripped the corner, and I knew it was gonna have traction through that rear end the entire time. And it's also admittedly very playful.
Okay. Chris, final thoughts for you on this thing? I know we talked about it being a lot of bike for home, and I asked you on the trail, like, would buying the different linkage and maybe swapping out the fork and having a different wheel set, maybe or maybe not, be something that you as a buying person would be interested in doing?
100%. And that's, excuse me, what I wanted to mention is, you guys at home, you buy this linkage, you get a new shock and a new fork, you have 2 completely different bikes. So yeah, why the price tag looks really expensive, I'd rather have that than have a 140, 150 bike ride here and be a little sad that I don't have more travel. So I do think it's worth the investment if you're a serious rider. And if you look at it on paper after buying these extra parts and pieces, it's not really that bad.
Okay, all right. And that's something I know you're usually, because Chris is one of our guest testers, right? He has a real job, so you have to buy your bike parts. Yep. And you are probably one of the more critical people about value, right? Like you've got kids' sporting equipment to buy and vacations to go on, right? So
baseball gloves, bats,
you're not wanting to just drop $11,699 on a bike, but that is a lot.
But do I buy this, or do I buy a short travel bike and then a gnarly bike for this?
Okay.
It's a hard one, right?
Yeah.
If the money's there, which it's a lot, go for it, but...
Yeah, would you look at a little bit lower spec model probably?
I would. I think there's some stuff that I will not benefit from at my level.
Okay.
So yeah, I would definitely look at the other spec levels. There's quite a bit of savings there.
Yeah. Okay. And as far as like fit finish, I know you are a meticulous bike cleaner. You like working on stuff at home mechanic. What are your thoughts about looking at this package?
I love the finish. I had actually, it's kind of funny. I had a neighbor walk in when I had this in my garage, and he's like, "I don't like that." I'm like, "You're crazy." Like I love this. I think it looks great.
Okay.
I kind of like the gloss to matte transition.
Okay.
I think it looks good.
Yeah. As far as cleaning it, linkages,
Yeah, I don't
everything.
see,
Like...
you can get to all the adjustments really easy. Like we were on the trail today and we were sitting there, how do you adjust the rebound on this bike? And we had to take so much stuff apart. I can get in here, turn it. There's not a lot of muck that can get stuck in there.
Okay.
You know, easy to work on, it looks like.
Something to note, and yeah, when you are paying $11,700, you know, you kind of want all of those things to be perfect because it's a perfect price, right? For it's a perfect demanding price, I would say. Where does this bike sit for you?
Really high.
Okay.
Really high. After that last run, this was like, changed my mind on this bike dramatically.
Okay. So this is one you would not be bummed to put in your garage? No. Okay. Sean?
Bike.
It's on the top of my list for a enduro style mid-power e-bike.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I mean, price is hard to swallow. I mean, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of bike. But I think I would probably look at a little bit more budget-friendly model that would work, you know, with what I could afford. And but yeah, there's no denying that this bike, in terms of like an aggressive, you know, low power, like mid-power e-bike, is very, very high. Like, and what's cool is like me, and I think you guys too, to an extent, especially myself as a descending bias rider and someone who likes rough, chunky bikes that you can still maneuver and play with, this thing is like perfect. But I just said a bike was perfect. That doesn't happen very often.
Never.
Really close to perfect. You can change it out and totally transform it to like a 140, 150 bike, right?
And it'll take 15 minutes.
And that to me is a very, very cool thing. So yeah, this bike is sick. I'm a big fan, big fan of this bike. So there it is, folks. The Trek Fuel Plus. They've done a great job on this machine.
Who do you think it's for?
Oh my goodness. Well, because of the versatility, it really is and could be for anybody. Like, it could be for an enduro racer. It could be for a bike park guy. It could be for someone like Cam McCall and R-Dog in the MX setup that are, you know, wanting to do bar spins on a SLE bike. Or it could be for like more of a cross-country beginner rider who wants the 140, 150, you know, build and have a pretty, you know, 44-ish pound SL trail bike. Like, it's a really well-rounded machine, and I'm stoked on it. So, well, that's it, folks. The Trek Fuel Plus, definitely one of the standout bikes in this year's 13 bike shootout. So, thanks again to Schwalbe Tires Endura Giro, Klamath Falls, and the Running Y Resort for having us down here and making this series possible. Stay tuned for the grand finale. It is coming soon. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. We'd love to see you back out here on the trails. Thanks for watching.